All right, folks, we're out here. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. We're trying to get the grill lit. We're using some hardwood lump charcoal, as we mentioned in our burger video. So this will probably take maybe about 15 or 20 minutes to get totally lit and starting to ash over. Then we'll add in some different wood there for the smoke, because we're trying to do a brisket, and that's probably going to take easily 12 plus hours before the rest, and we will explain that throughout the day. So right now we're just showing you guys how we like the charcoal. All right, folks, we just got the brisket on the grill. It's now 8 o'clock, so if everything cooks smoothly, this will probably be, I would guess, probably a 10-12 hour plus cook. As you see, we have a total of 3 temperature probes, which we discussed in our pork butt video, and we will have a video that will discuss this in greater detail, and we'll try to put a link to these actual probes in the description box. But we have a grill sensor probe, we have a probe that's in the point of the brisket, and a probe that's in the flat of the brisket. So we just wanted to be able to monitor the temperature throughout, and to get a very soft brisket, you want to go to at least 195. Some people go higher to 205, 202, 203. We'll just see how it goes, but you want to go until it's very soft and it slides in and out there just like butter. So we'll see. We can go ahead and drop this top. We're starting to get a lot of smoke action. So we'll check back in a couple hours and see how it's going. All right, it's been about an hour and a half being on the grill. Came out and checked it. My temperature was a little low, so we're trying to heat it back up. So I won't keep this top up very long, but just showing you guys how it's looking. The internal temp at the coldest point is around 100 or so, so it's heating up pretty good, but it'll probably stall somewhere around like the 160 range, and it'll probably sit there for about 4 hours, and we may wrap it, or we may just let it try to push on through. So that's how it's looking after about an hour and a half. Okay, this has been 4 hours, so just a little over 4 hours. We're getting a little bit of smoke, so I can't keep this up long, but this is just showing how the brisket is looking right now. The internal temperature on the colder end, or the point, as you see up there, is 154. The flat down here is about 158. So our temperatures are starting to stabilize somewhat there throughout. It's probably getting close to that stall point. And we're running the grill somewhere between 210 and 250. So we're going to go ahead and drop this top and let our temperature come back up, and we'll see how it looks. We'll try to check in a little bit later. Boy, this is going to look like some good eating. Alright, folks, it's been a little more than 4 hours since we came out here and looked at the brisket. It sort of reached the stall zone in the 160 area, and what I mean by stall zone is that it looks like your temperature will not be going up for a while. Sometimes it's a couple hours, maybe on 30 minutes, couple hours, 2, 3, 4 hours. It just depends on your piece of meat, because every meat is different. So it's finally seeming like it's trying to get through that stall zone. It may still sit there for maybe, I would guess, probably about like another hour, but it's in the 160s right now, and it's stalled out. And there are different ways to do it. You can either power through it the way that we're going to do and not unwrap it, or you can do what they call a Texas crutch, which is taking your meat off and either wrap it in foil or some type of butcher paper and put in some sort of a juice, whatever your liquid is, wrap it up tight and put it back on the grill to help it get through the stall zone quicker. In this case, we decided to just let it go the normal way and just power on through it. So it may take the brisket a little bit longer, but we'll see how that turns out. So if you look at it just very quickly, you can see some of the bark is starting to form. I'm not going to touch the meat because I don't have on gloves, but you'll see the bark is starting to form, and it looks like it's starting to get that nice crusty look on it, which is what you want. And also some of the fat that was on top is starting to render down, which is good. And when we take it off, we'll try to look at the bottom and see how that fat looks. But it's really starting to get that nice burgundy, mahogany type of color, if you would. That the brisket is starting to look very well done. So we'll give it a little bit more time. We're going to try to go to probably the 195, as we mentioned before, which is that very soft and it's easy to cut through. And of course, we'll show you how to cut the brisket, going with the flat and the point and so forth, and then cutting against the grain. So that'll be later on. So we'll check back in hopefully a couple hours and see how it looks. Okay, folks, it's been about 10 hours total that the brisket has been out here, or about 2 hours since we last looked. this is the system that we are using to check the meat temperatures. We'll have a video talking about this in greater detail. But you'll see that the pit is running about 246. It's running a little higher than what we normally want, but that's okay. And the brisket itself ranges from about 186 to 190, so it's getting close to getting done. Still has a little bit more time. So let's take a quick look and see how it looks. Yes, that's definitely starting to get that nice bark on the outside. And so this end, which is the flat, is running a little bit higher than what the point is, which is to be expected. You know, it takes a little more to cook the point because it's thicker, obviously. So we'll let this sit a little while, and we'll come back and check it when it gets to about that 195 and see if the probes can slide in and out easily. If so, then it's getting close to being done. And of course, as I said before, you can go to the 200 something. It all depends on your cut of meat and how it's going. You hear the beeping saying that the pit temperature is dropping too low, so we'll go ahead and shut the top. We'll come back and check it in hopefully a couple hours. Okay folks, we came out to check the meat to see if it was done, because we were getting a temperature of around 190 to 200 in the brisket. But if you notice, we were going in from the side, so we're going to lift the top and show you when we move the thermometers what the new temperature actually read. It's a lot of smoke, which I really don't want all the smoke now, but we'll show you very quickly. If you can see through the smoke, we put both of our probes into the thick portion of the brisket, which is the point, and you'll see that when we went in there, the meat temperature is actually more about 170 something to the low 180. So we're going to drop this top because the smoke is getting excessive right now. We're going to try to choke it out and kind of cool the grill down because it's getting a little hot right now. So we want to get it back under on 250. But that's just something to pay attention to, that when you measure your temperatures, you're going in from the side and it slipped in very easily, but going to the true thickest portion, it actually wasn't at the temperature that we thought it was. So that's just something to pay attention to when you're cooking your meat. Alright guys, we had to go ahead and pull it a little bit early. It has a jiggle of being done. The temperature is not quite what we wanted it to be, but we're going to go ahead and wrap it up very tightly, which is the key. It must be very tight and snug. We're going to put it into a cooler to rest at least 3 hours. We wanted it to get to about, 195 to 200. It's slightly less than that, but the grill started having a flare up, and we handled it calmly and discreetly the way that we should. But it was taking forever to cool down. It was getting too hot to be a smoke, and we started getting too much smoke, and it was starting to get too heavy and starting to dry out our meat. So we just went ahead and pulled it. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, take it inside, put it in the cooler, and we'll check back in about 3 or so hours. All right, guys. So we got it wrapped up very tightly in foil, which is what you want to do to make sure that you don't ruin your good hard bark that you put on there. So you wrap it very tightly in foil, and then you take a towel and then you wrap that up, and then you put it inside of a dry cooler. Let it sit for at least 3 hours, and then we can come back and check it. Okay, folks, it's been sitting here for about 3.5, almost 4 hours. Wrapped in the foil and then wrapped in towels and put in the dry cooler. I saw where some juices leaked out onto the towel, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and go with it. You can see where some of the juices dripped here. So let's go ahead and unwrap this thing and see how it looks. Man, it smells delicious. I tell you what. It smells very good. I'm looking forward to cutting into this. Alright, set that aside. Alright, so here we go. Go ahead and take a look at this delicious looking brisket that we have. Looks very nice. Just lift it on out of this foil here. It's very hot, by the way. Alright, so now that we have our brisket out of the foil and unwrapped, I can show you guys here a little more clearly some of the things that I was talking about. This is considered a full packer brisket, meaning you have the flat and the point, and you want to cut against the grain on the flat and it cut width on the point. So I'll show you that. Let's turn this around here. It's kind of hard to see the grain now that it's cooked, but what you would normally do is you'll just cut a little bit here. Oh yeah, very nice. Very nice. Let's just cut a few more slices here and just see how it looks here. Knife's just cutting through it just like butter. It's turned out to be a very good cook, even though we had to pull it a little bit earlier there because of all the heavy smoke and fire. You can see. Alright, let's just grab a piece right here. Let you guys take a look at it. You can see our light smoke ring there that was on it. Both sides. Still very tender the way that you would want. See that it's just falling apart in my hand. That's a good thing. A slight pull, it just pulls apart. Okay, so if you guys ever want to do a brisket, first thing we did was after we got it out of the pack, washed it off and patted it dry, then took a wet rub or just some oil, rubbed it all over the brisket, and then put our own personal blend of smoky sweet all over it, which helps give you that good bark there when you cook it correctly. And then from there we let it sit in the fridge for about a day. Took it out and got the grill hot and going, and then put the brisket on, and we smoked it. The average temperature was about 225. Sometimes, you know, it got lower or higher, which at the end we had to go ahead and take it off because it shot up and it would never cool back down, although we were choking it out there doing the dampers and so forth, the way that we mentioned in the previous video. So we decided to go ahead and take it off a little bit before we wanted to, and we still took it off there, wrapped it up in the foil very tightly, which we missed a little bit because some of the juice dripped out, but that's okay. And then we let it sit for about 3 hours, and the end result is some pull apart brisket. So this is a good cook.